Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming today, and for those of you online who are tuning in. Great listening to Peter Crook just there. If he can deliver WA's first cesium mine, I'm sure he can deliver the first iconic rare earth mine as well, so very impressive, very good to hear. So it's fantastic to be up here with you guys today at RIU 200th anniversary, 200th presentation. It's also an anniversary for us. It was the first conference that Dreadnought presented at last year. So very excited to be here and talk about, I guess, the future that we have ahead. We've had a very exciting year. This year is our second year in existence, and we've started to actually find some mineralization of significance. And that's really going to change our tune going forward from an exploration company the last 2.5 years that's been, but wait, we have more, but wait, we have more, to a company that next year is going to be very focused on delivering 3 very significant programs, focused entirely on delivering our copper resources, our rare earth resources, and also our nickel resources with First Quantum. So very, very excited to talk today about what the next year looks like for us. As soon as I figure out this thingamajigger here. All right. So Dreadnought Resources, we're a junior exploration company that's getting quite large. We've just expanded our team, got a new office in Osborne Park. The dream of being a junior explorer with a warehouse and an office in it. Not too many people's dreams, but we're certainly not a lifestyle company sitting in West Perth or high rise somewhere. Board and management owns 17% of the company. We put our hands in our pocket every time we ask our shareholders to put their hands in theirs. So we are very, very attuned with our shareholders, and we are here to crystallize value for them. We have a very small, very hardworking team. I think we're all ready to have a couple of days holiday. Don't think it'll stretch into the weeks, but we'll see how we go. But we have 3 main projects. We floated Dreadnought in the Kimberley, our Taraji-Yampi project, off limits since 1978. This year is the first year anyone's drilled undercover out there, and we've hit massive sulfide. The Gossan for that was sitting just 1 meter under Black Plains soil. Very exciting for us to deliver what's up there. At Mangaroon was a project in the Gascoigne that we picked up just a year ago to sort of fill in the backslide of always having 2 to 3 projects on the run, because the Kimberley, while the potential is certainly there, elephant country and unexplored, it's only accessible for general exploration for about half the year. So always wanted to have a second project on the go, and Mangaroon has certainly outperformed for us this year, throwing lots of surprises with outcropping pentlandite and chalcopyrite, which got First Quantum on board very quickly. And also recently, the rare earths, which we only uncovered a few months ago, which is across this road from Hastings. And earlier this week, after flying a very substantial mag survey, identified the carbonatite plugs that people have been exploring for the last 30, 40 years, and nothing like a new magnetic data set to highlight those things for us, which is very, very exciting. And because of that, and because of the scale of those opportunities between the nickel with First Quantum, the rare earths and the carbonatites, and the copper and cobalt, silver and gold up in the Kimberley, the Alara project, we actually brought in Peter Langworthy's OmniGeoX to manage that in the background, so that our team, the Dreadnought team, can focus wholly on delivering the programs that we think will be the company makers for us in the next year. Our strategy, as always, we are an explorer. We like living in swag, is covered in flies in the heat, delivering those first drill intercepts. There's nothing more exciting than being on the rig when you hit massive sulfide or hitting that first bit of mineralization. And that's what we live for. We maximize value by delivering that to an inferred resource and then bringing someone in, hopefully a big brother, to either buy us out or to carry us into production. That becomes a very, very different sort of operation and different skill set and personalities. So you're not going to see me talking about building my own mine. I'm an exploration geo, not a mine developer. And that's certainly our definition of success. It's being bought out like Sirius did, selling one of our assets to the big brothers, or like we've done with First Quantum, being carried into production by a group that actually specializes and has the pockets to bring us into production. So I'll start off with Taraji-Yampi. We have finished our field programs up here this year, but we are still waiting for some assays. Like I alluded to before, off limits since 1978. Roy Woodall himself was the last person to put a drill hole into the Taraji area in 1958, drilling some of the outcropping copper lodes that were discovered in 1906. And this year, I've explored lots of different places in the world, and there's not many opportunities where you have outcropping mineralization that's been completely unexplored since 1978, and actually 1958 in the Taraji area. And to be able to get out there and follow behind the legends like Roy Woodall himself and actually look at this ground is very, very exciting and a priceless opportunity I think any geologist would love to have. And this year, a lot of our focus since 2019, since we've been able to get first boots on ground, we've traced up a lot of the known mineralization that's at Grants, discovered in 1906, worked on by Roy Woodall in 1958, rough triangle and outcropping lodes discovered by WMC, but never even assayed in 1958. And then there's a number of geophysical targets that we've done on Taraji. When we first started as Dreadnought, we had a 3 to 4 mil market cap. We had 300 grand in the bank. There wasn't a whole lot of work that we could do to get things moving. And so we focused on the easiest wins first and the biggest opportunities, which was the Taraji tenement. And I'll talk a little bit now soon. We've recently completed a mag survey over the other 3 to 4 tenements that make up the Yampi side of that. And there's going to be a lot of upside potential deploying what we've learned from drilling Taraji across the rest of the project area. So our next steps up here is that we have known mineralization. It looks like it has scale, which I'll show you in a second. At Orion and Grants, we will deliver resources on Orion and Grants. And then once the diamond rigs are finishing that program, we'll take the RC rig out and actually deploy what we've learned from drilling Taraji, drilling Orion, to try and find the other friends that are sitting in that system. So Orion itself, the red holes we released a couple of weeks ago, massive sulfide, getting some decent thicknesses and decent grades of copper, gold, silver, and cobalt. The blue holes up there are still pending. We hope to have those assays in hand any day now. So keep an eye out on that. We've confirmed mineralization down to about 120, 150 meters vertical depth, over about 240, 250 meters of strike. But we've only touched the top of that thing. So what you see there on the right, the big green blob is an inversion of the magnetic data. Our massive sulfide is very pyrrhotite rich. It is extremely magnetic, and that extends down to over 500 meters depth. The blue plate in there is the plate from our fixed loop EM survey, and the red is from the recent downhole EM surveys that we've completed. As you can see from those depths, those drill holes that are on there, which are the deepest holes we drilled, we're still at the very top of this system. It appears to be getting stronger, thicker, and better with depth. But drilling will tell, and so we'll drill that next year, because we're not here to talk about what could be. We're here to prove it as quickly as we can and deliver that resource. The other major thing that we've discovered from this round of drilling, we knew from the geophysics work that we did that the top of fresh rock was about 30 meters down. However, when you stand out there on the surface, it's all black plain soils, like Mount Isa. Surface geochemistry and things like that can be very, very challenging. And so our exploration to date has been dominated by geophysics, bump hunting, the good old days. If you have a ground that's been off limits since 1978, you can still go bump hunting. But what we've realized is that the depth of cover out here is only 1 to 5 meters thick. So what does that mean for us? That means we can actually deploy a low impact auger drilling program to drill through that thin cover and actually screen all of our lithostructural and geophysical targets that are remaining out here before we take the RC rig out to test them. That will allow us to unlock a lot of, hopefully, new discoveries in the Taraji and Yampi area. And to paint that a bit more, on the left are 2 images of the Taraji tenement. Like I said, we've been focusing on Taraji to date. That is Orion and Grants sitting up there, not too far away from each other. You see these large structures that cut up through. One of them goes through Orion, sitting right there. We have other magnetic anomalies sitting on those structures, all undercover. We've not been able to see those at all. This is just at Taraji. Even Fuso itself, that's a 1.5 by 500 meter long magnetic anomaly. We've only put a few holes into that. We have a few sniffs on that. We can now deploy auger drilling over that to see where within that anomaly the mineralization is actually sitting, if it's there at all. But we can screen all of these targets within Taraji itself while we're drilling and delivering the resource at Orion and Grants. And then that's the Taraji tenement right there within the wider Yampi Taraji tenement package. Matt Crow, our exploration manager, and loves doing expensive lines with magnetic data, doing those interps. We're going to uncover quite a few bumps to go hunt, as well as lithostructural targets to deploy that auger on as well. So in addition to the targets that we have sitting at Taraji right now that we haven't even looked at because they're undercover, we're going to uncover quite a few more on the Yampi side. So we're really looking forward to what this drill program next year is going to deliver for us. People have asked, what's the mineralization style? This is a fantastic geological debate sort of question. We've handed these rocks to specialists at big brother companies who are always looking at the project, academic specialists and the rest. To date, I think there's about 4 Mount Isas, 2 porphyry epithermals, and 2 Beshi style VMSs. Whatever it is, I kind of don't care. I'm here to actually make the discovery, and I care about how we actually find more. And that's deploying the auger next year, which I'm most excited about. The most important thing about either one of those mineralization styles is that there's more than one. So they always occur in camps, and that's what's going to keep us focused to find more and let the academics discover what it is afterwards. So some of those targets we'll be testing, I'll briefly blow through. Grants, 800-meter long outcropping vein. Last drill program hit 10 meters at 2.3% copper on that. We'll deliver a resource on that, about 100, 150 meters vertical depth. Fuso, like I alluded to before, very large anomaly. We're getting some sniffs plugging holes into the peak magnetic anomaly. But if we go to, say, Mount Isa as one of the potential analogs for us, the mineralization is not always intimately associated with the peak magnetic high. So having to be able to deploy that auger drilling on top of that before we drill the RC rig will allow us to actually drill the proper part of these anomalies. Another one, rough triangle, which led to as well, 1.3 kilometer long lode. The top 600 meters of that running some very high copper, copper, antimony, bismuth, and silver. So a very different geochemical gradient to what we see in some of the other areas that could play into the wider system. Regardless, we're going to put holes into this and see what that looks like. So moving on to Mangaroon. Hopefully I have enough time to get through all of this. Mangaroon, similar to the Kimberley, it's a Proterozoic mobile belt. It's been unloved for a very long time, which I'm happy to talk about over a beer. However, we moved in about a year ago and pegged about 4.5 to 5,000 square kilometers of vacant ground. So it's a first mover opportunity. When we go in, as our chairman likes to say, title is vital. We go big or we go home. And so we took a dominant position in the underexplored Mangaroon belt in the Gascoyne province to see what we could find. We know from the pastoralist history that there was high-grade gold and nickel sticking out of the ground. We've already done that joint venture with the First Quantum. We're finishing that EM survey, and we'll drill those goslings next year. No matter what, First Quantum's committed to drilling. And our focus now is really focusing on these rare earths. So Yin, get a few young geologists across the street from Yangibana. We're out doing the work on the gold and the rare earths. These guys want to go see if all the academics have been wrong over the last 30 years, saying that the carbonatites stop at the Lions River Fault. So I'll say, give them free rein. How are you going to target it? Reprocess the geophysics data with the help of Southern Geoscience. Get some thorium maps, look for the thorium anomalies in the government data. Look underneath them, looks like an ironstone. Go kick the rock. What do you find? 10% rare earth sticking out of the ground south of the Lions River Fault. We've now done multiple programs out there to map that out, and about 6 of its friends showing that these ironstones do continue south of the Lions River Fault. We've already huffed out 60 to 80 meters of that material, put it through a simple flotation flow sheet similar to what Hastings is doing next door, and we've already proven that we can produce a high-grade monazite concentrate. That's Hastings ironstones to the north. We started to see some ironstones to the south. We talked about having a similar sort of scale. If you believe in the Hastings project, where they're getting into production, they're doing great work, they've cracked a lot of the met. We were starting to show that we had a similar scale, perhaps the other half of their mineralization. But the most important thing that came from that, and like Newmont identified in 1991 and Newcrest when they explored the Yangibana ironstones, is that these things look like the dikes that form around the ring of a giant carbonatite plug. So these red veins that go off on the side are rare earth bearing, potentially ironstones. You also look at Hastings drilling data from 2015, look at some other work in the area, you see these high-grade niobium veins that are associated with those ironstones. Those are actually the blue lines coming out. This is a classical carbonatite diagram here, straight from the academic papers. That's exactly what we started to see out here. And so we decided to fly a 50,000 line kilometer magnetic survey over this area to see if having higher resolution, more modern geophysical data could highlight these carbonatite plugs, like Mount Weld in 1966, like Cummins Range in the 1980s, 1970s with CRA, or Nolan's Bore at Erfurt in the 1990s. Magnetics is how you find carbonatite plugs. It's their distinctive features. And just earlier this week, right on the Lions River Fault, major crustal scale structure, just on our side of the tenement boundary, thankfully, we've identified 5 of these ring structures. We've been out boots on ground already. The boys are heading back out there next week. And we've already identified these things, carbonatite outcrops sitting within C3 and C4. The majority of these carbonatites are sitting undercover. And so we're really looking forward to confirming mineralization from the limited outcrop that we have. But regardless, we're going to be drilling these things next year and seeing what potential they have. Because the scale on finding a new carbonatite plug out here in a proven rare earth province is extremely exciting. Mangaroon, so we're currently finishing up these 12 to 13 line kilometers of fixed loop EM surveys, again with the help of Southern Geoscience. And we're very, very excited to hopefully finish that before Christmas and get those results out to the market. No matter what, First Quantum's drilling underneath the Goslings up here. And if there's a conductor in there, that's going to be very, very exciting for us as well. So the rare earths, the bonatites, and the nickel will all be drilled early next year. So what does that work plan look like for us? We have I'm heading out to Alara to look at Peggy Sue, which is a little potential lithium-bearing pegmatites down at Alara before the Omni GeoX guys take complete control of the project. And the rest of the guys are heading up to Mangaroon to chase up those carbonatites. Next year, Omni GeoX will probably deliver a small drill program at Alara, chasing up on a few of the things that we've been talking about for the last year, while our team focuses on delivering Mangaroon, Kimberley, and then back to Mangaroon, 3 big programs next year, delivering resources and further discoveries. And of course, all this is weather and access dependent, but that's going to be our focus. And this is going to be what we focus on next year. So thank you guys very much for listening. We're going to be a very exciting year for Dreadnought in 2022. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Dean.